Okay, I figured this would be a good one to shoot a video for. Pick this up. Basically, this guy packaged this up beautiful, as you'll see in the pictures. Totally mistreated. I mean, he's got hair. He's never taken the wheels off. No big deal. Dirty as hell here, but he sends it in for repair. They say they lost the vacuum hose. All this is fine though. These threads are not messed up. He's missing a lead solution line. Went through all that trouble to package it, ship it. He's got to ship it back. The money involved is crazy. And I'm going to work on this. I'm going to tear it apart, clean it up, and send it back. And he's going to have a large bill. But whatever. Take care of your stuff or don't. Set this here. These glides are a little stuck in there. He definitely hasn't taken them out for a while. No big deal to pound them out. Wood dowel rod, real simple. Keep the end you mushroom to keep the other side flat. Like I say, they should never be this hard. But if you don't take them out, you don't clean up your stuff, you're gonna be knocking them out. You should be able to slide them out by hand. Easy peasy, clean it up. Probably works fine. I'll check his valve, check everything else, and we'll go from there. Well, I guess I'm going to keep this video going just to show how fast, how easy this is. Just takes, you know, I shouldn't say fast, it takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. See if these glides are even rolled. Hey, look at this. Brand new on the other side. Dirty, but brand new. Watch the video. I'm going to take the jets out only because it'll make it easier for me to clean everything else back up. We'll yank them out, the jets and the check valves, and they're separate, and I can soak everything. Not even saying there's anything wrong with them, but God, you can't even get a ½ inch on them. There's so much crap on the jets. Unreal. Well, we're going to keep on going here. Basically, all this thing needed was a good wash job, but I'm going to tear it down and give it a good wash job. That way I get all inside the jets. Everything's good. We're going to remove his handle. Basically rebuild it. Things he could have done himself. I think it took longer to box it. Unless he paid to have it boxed. We did. It was awfully expensive. Handle's off. As you see, this piece of stainless steel goes between the nut and the knob, and if this ever gets loose, like you have to turn it once or twice to get it to grab, you might just need to tighten this up a little bit so that it just slides into there. Everything's coming apart real easy. Probably never adjusted it, never changed the weights on. Who knows? Weights are both here. And I'm going to use anti-seize when I put this back together. Make sure we get no corrosion. And we're going to find out. When you never take your lid off or you never take these out, sometimes these will get stuck and I have to actually drill them out. Apparently not today. It's probably because he never touched it. Instead of putting your screws back dry, he still has anti-seize on them from when the unit was built. Simple as that. Take my knob out. How's this look? Beautiful. We can't use it. We don't know why. Well, because you don't take care of anything, that's why. Just so we all know, he probably sent this dirty shit in here all because his jets were plugging. Maybe he blew his hose and decided he didn't need a filter. It just keeps getting better and better. So basically, to clean this, I have a 5-gallon bucket here. Now I have this big mess. It probably took longer to box it than what it's going to take me to rebuild it. But whatever the customer wants, they're always right, huh? 5-gallon bucket. Helps to be hot. Don't have my bucket heater, but a little elbow grease. finished product will look real nice. I've got the jet soaking in some acid over there. So this is the head. Let me try to hold this phone and show you. I scrubbed a real small area. This is a Scotch-Brite pad. Don't be scared to use it. Let it soak. This is actually cold water, half scoop of Sager's Blue. And when I get done, the zipper will look brand new. Worn on one side, completely brand new on the other. I bet I'm gonna put a nickel into the zipper and it sends it out of here looking brand new, besides the parts he was missing. Don't be lazy, guys. Okay, I just showed you his lid. Lid cleaned up good here. I am gonna hit it with a little bit of paint. Paint sticks excellent to anodizing. So I got as clean as I can. I'm not sanding it, not doing anything. I'm just gonna shoot it real quick. These are his weights. They're not too bad. They got a teeny bit of rust on them. So basically where all the rust is here, this is just a belt sandpaper, nothing special. Try to hold this foam. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm just going to get the rust down a little bit, spray it with a primer, and I'm going to hit it with a black wheel paint. Shouldn't take 5-10 minutes. Okay, I sanded down the weights. As you can see, it's got most of the rust. I'm going to clean those with a little bit of brake clean here. Paint them. Put a little paint on the lid. I don't have two hands, so I'm just going to wipe them down. A little bit of brake cleaner. You can use some paint thinner, what have you. I'm soaking that so I can get the sticker off a little bit more. And we'll be right back. All right, I'm gonna try to do this video the best I can. It's kind of hard to hold the camera, do things. We've got this all cleaned up from there to now. I've got the wrench sitting here because I'm gonna pull those caps off. I rinsed the manifold out real good, but I wanna be sure, so I'm gonna pull these and we'll reassemble them. So let me put this where you can see it. I'm gonna show you how to pull the sticker off. The new ones are individual, they'll be easier to pull off. This has a solid, and I'm gonna show you how I get that off, some goof off and a little bit of elbow grease. I'm gonna pull all these plugs out and make sure that I get them over on the wire wheel. Clean that up when I do the jets. Jets are still marinating, so are the check valves. Again, I'm not gonna put any money, just a little elbow grease into this. So here with the sticker, you can use a heat gun, that sometimes helps, but with this type of sticker, you've just gotta keep picking at it, okay? Just keep picking at it. Get your parts off. As soon as you get the whole clear cover off, it's going to be sticky. You'll need to use some goof off. It's not easy, but you can do it. It takes a little bit of time. You can also use the Scotch-Brite pad right here if that helps. I'll take a picture when I'm done doing this and go from there. Okay, I'm going to do this now. You can do it whenever. When you take this sticker, you want to get this edge pulled here. Okay, you want to keep the paper part up. Makes it easier to peel. You can see what you're doing as it's unfolding. Real simple. You line this up. You're going to have about 1 centimeter on each side and about 1/2 centimeter to the top. This is a tool here just to flatten that. Now, most of the time the sticker is messed up. It's because it's bounced around in the truck. You shouldn't be able to hit the wall with that. So you'll get a little bit of scratching down at the bottom here. If you can see that. But the sticker is only damaged because it was bouncing around the truck or something was hitting it. These are marinating in acid. These are the jets, these are the check valves. They've been sitting out here about an hour. I put maybe 2 shot glasses of muriatic acid in with a little bit of water. You see this is in a big bucket. And soaking them, and I'll show you what they look like when they're cleaned up, I'm going to wire wheel them and reinstall them. Okay, we've got 6 jets, 6 check valves all cleaned up. I'm going to wire wheel the Teflon tape off of these so I can reassemble it. Hopefully I don't lose a finger. Good vibration. Okay, bear with me. I don't have anyone holding my camera. I'm going to show you. I looked down his manifold. He's got a lot of like powdery residue. Probably using a powdered soap. I would suggest using a liquid always. I like Sager's Deep Blue. Great. All my filters come out. They look good. So I'm going to clean this up. I have this brush here. I get this from Harbor Freight. They come in packs. Just a little wire brush. I'm going to give it a quick cleaning, and then we're going to assemble this head. Okay, I've got everything cleaned up. A few of the jets were plugged. That was probably the whole problem. No filter, plugged up jets. Basically says the unit's useless to him because he doesn't know how to clean his stuff up. So when I blow a jet out, I basically take it out and I'll blow from the back side. I'll look up at the light and you can see that it's clear. I'll post a picture of that after. I use quarter-inch Teflon tape. It's called Pro Fitter, and this is from a place called Fastenal. Makes it so it's not all bunchy up on your jet. You can also take your 1/2-inch, rip it in half. Anyway, long story short, we're going to put these check valves in. Before I do that, I'm actually going to let you know that sometimes you have to retighten these. Sometimes the guts will fall out. This is an 1/8-inch Allen wrench here. And you just get into the guts and just give it a nice little turn. I'm going to check all these, make sure they're good before I put them in. Like I say, there's not one part on here that wasn't missing that isn't good. He could have basically cleaned it up on the spot, but I'm going to make sure we don't have any problems and go through everything, make it look like a new machine again. Okay, so all those are tight. Now you can use Teflon tape or you can use blue Loctite. Don't use any other Loctite. This is a 243 blue, easily removable. I'm going to use that for the plugs and the check valves here. And I just put a drop on each one. When it spins around, it will basically seal through the threads. I'm also going to put that on the plugs. So I'm going to go ahead and put this all together. Now I use my finger. When I put these back in, I put my finger right here. And that way I'm holding it nice and straight. And I'm threading them in. Probably be making a lot better time if I wasn't trying to shoot a video and keep getting bad takes. Just want people to understand. And I get these decently tight. I mean, I don't kill myself on them, but you'll feel they're tight. It's about 1 finger I'm using on this wrench. I'll show you when I get to the ones a little more in view. They're not holding anything. You don't have to crank them down. They are MPT threads, and you'll spread it. So I'm just putting a little finger tension to them. I see a lot of guys with wands and they run the jets all the way in. They think that they have to be flush, and quite the opposite. You definitely don't want to tear your threads up. It's decently tight. You know, when I put these jets in, these are 2 different sizes. We use 95015 for the ends and 11015 for the middle. That would be a 9 flow. I'm actually going to get my glasses on here so I can see. Let's see, we've got a 95 there, a 110 there, 110, 110. That's the angle of them, 110-degree angle. And there's the other 95. So your 95-degree angle go on the ends. If you take your jets out, pay attention that you don't accidentally put a 110-degree angle on the outside. You'll end up getting overspray. Yeah, everything gets hand tight in about a turn and a half to 2 turns. Grab my straight edge here. So I'll basically get them to where it feels decent. That's 1 turn, that's 1.5. They're feeling pretty good right there. Probably because they were previously installed and they're seated real good. Sometimes I'll go a little more if they're new. Like I say, I'm not cranking them down. I'm putting the end ones straight, and all of the middle ones are cocked a little bit sideways. Try to put that up there for you and look myself. So basically, put these all one direction, and the fan will bypass each other. That way it doesn't collide in these streaks. Okay. I don't know what the camera can see here. I'll just hold this up. Let's see. Move my prop with some towels. And basically what I do is I set a straight edge on these jets. Now I can tell if some are higher and some are lower. And you see where the problem jet is. See how it's looking like it's very far from these? The problem jet is right there in the middle. When I rock this, you can see that this one and this one is high. So let me set the camera down, see if I'm gonna get these straight, and I'll show you when I'm done. They're not exactly perfect because you're going through 2 sets of threads. Let me get them the way they need to be, and I'll show you. So this one is the trouble one. It's a little bit too high. Just gonna tighten that one a little bit more. It's actually about a 1/2 turn is what you're getting it. Now it'll reveal the one next to it is a teeny bit high. Pretty good. Sometimes you do got to get them a little tight if they're off, but not too tight, definitely. That's about got it. So let me show you here. You won't get them exactly perfect, but you're going to get them awfully close. You can see that one's down a teeny bit, but I'm not going to reef. They're all pretty good. Okay, I'm going to show you on the glides here. These glides have never been flipped. If you can see, he's got a wear, not too worn. Actually, I could still use this side of the glide if I want it, but I'm going to send it back looking brand new. Again, not putting a nickel into it. As you see, all these holes, they start to get irregular shaped. It's a characteristic of Teflon. I'm going to use an 11/64 drill bit, and I'm going to re-drill all of these holes from the good side down. As you see, they're plugged up, a few of them, blah, blah. Anyways, before you flip your glide, you definitely want to do that, because if something's big enough to get up this side, it's going to be jamming at this side because the holes are smaller in a regular shape. When I get done, they're all going to be drilled out. It takes me 5 minutes, if. So let's drill these out together, and I'll show you what the difference is. And like I say, I'm going to go from the good side to the bad side. Gives me something to follow. I'm going to turn my drill up, and we're going to town. As you see, I have no special tools, basic tools, 1/2 inch, 9/16. A couple odd sizes, you know, for these drill bits. 11/64, but you can go as big as a 3/16. I have a couple customers, they run all hole glides, and they run 3/16 inch glides. They just drill them out. Guys have bigger trucks, what have you. Perfect. So you feel it's a little rough here. I take some sandpaper. As you've seen, I did pound them out. I'm just going to take the sandpaper. I'm going to kind of whittle my glide a little bit, take that little rough area where I was drilling out. take it down. This is fairly coarse. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm going to run it up and down this channel a little bit. Just enough to, clean it out. Make it like it was when it was new, in case, it got hit or damaged. The ends sometimes get a little more of a burring on them. Like I said, you can easily take them out of there. Okay, as you see, I explained this one wasn't cut on the equator. It took me a few minutes to do this. This is called a Widowmaker. It's a deburring tool. And the side that needed cut, because this wasn't on the equator, this is a pretty old machine. I looked at the serial number. So one of the first ones before we had some tolerance issues fixed, that this wasn't cut exactly on the equator. So I was able to take that tool and I cut it on the side that he was using and pulled it off of the right edge there. And this will slide right in. Let me put the camera back. The other glide, perfect. So this will slide right in. Now, he has the recessed bridges. He wore down the side and chipped it all up with the side that was recessed. I could take a Dremel and recess these, but by the way this was plugged up, I think he'll be better off with this because the hair will rub off. So I'm just gonna simply flip his glide and put this thing back together. Simple as that. We were missing a glide retainer, and the one that was on there was pretty beat up. So I'm going to get him a new set of glide retainers. Mess is free around here. Let me get some anti-seize. One of the most important things when you're taking screws out and you're putting screws back in is you want to use a little anti-seize. I'm just going to use a bit and you'll see I'll dip my screws into it. A little messy, but definitely keeps the corrosion down. Could use his old screws, but I'll give him a couple new ones. Why not? I'm already here, huh? Camera, but simple as that. Get your screw. This is upside down, so it makes it where you have to hold these. Normally you could just set it right on there if you were working on the ground or something. I'm dipping a bit of anti-seize on these. Simple as that. Now, as you've seen, I showed with the wood dowel rod knocking these out. I've had guys take hammers and just beat this whole channel to death. Once they do that, the block's junk. You basically can't do anything with it, so we're on our way to a full rebuild. Snazzy. Okay, I cleaned it all up from him. I've never seen this before. I showed him the picture. He's spraying an acid all over this. This clamp's very tight against the unit, that's why it's black. But he's spraying acid all over his machine. Apparently it doesn't matter when they pre-spray, but long story short, I want to show you about this knob here. See what I'm showing. So if you have to turn it 1 or 2 times and then it starts to grab, it means your nut has loosened up, and that's normally because you don't loosen it and you try to keep turning this without loosening your back lock nut. And just to tighten it up, if there's any play, it goes between, let's see if I can show here. It goes between that steel plate. So basically, it's on the head here, which when I screw it in, I leave about 1 inch of thread when I go to put this back on. It gives me a starting point. Now his felt good, but I have seen them where the bolt is way down here, I'm sorry, the nut, and they have a hard time adjusting it properly. His looks good. See, I can barely turn it. He can probably use a slight adjustment. Let me set this here and show how I do this. I basically take my 1/2-inch wrench and I turn it just a hair. Sometimes I have to turn it more. And when I'm putting it in between the steel here, see, I can still turn it. So I'm going to tighten it a little bit more. Now, if I over tighten it, watch, it'll walk itself out. Well, that won't even go in, but if I was to over tighten it, it would walk itself out. See it walking a little bit there? Once I get it exactly correct, it just spins. So I'm going to finish putting this together. I have his head here. I'm going to finish putting the bolts in the lid, and I'm waiting for my paint to dry for the weights. Same screws, I just cleaned them up a little bit, and I'm dipping them in my anti-seize. Every bolt on here gets a little anti-seize. It'll save you a lot of trouble if you don't take care of it and you're not reapplying that, or not washing your machine, or lots of things can cause corrosion. So when I tighten these up, just like a tire, and I'm not cranking them, it's vacuum, it's not holding anything. I'm just getting it here, crisscross, and he'll get his weights in a minute. So I've got to put his wheels back together here. We've got some extra parts. These are the extra parts. See that? That was never bought with the machine. It's a hair washer. These were. So I'm going to grab all 4 of these. Now 2 of these are thick and 2 of these are thin, and you'll see the difference. That's a thick, that's a thick. These 2 are thin. The thin goes on the inside. It really wouldn't make a difference, but just don't put too thick on one side and too thin on the other. The one with the thick ones will be a little tight. So we're gonna get his wheels. See if I can get this to hold, because I might be walking around. I may have to ream them, I may not. Let's see what we got here. That's not the right place. That is. Okay. So normally I just slide them on, I bounce them a little bit. See what kind of crud, see the crud that comes out of these wheels? They'll spin, but you can push back and forth, get the garbage out. Me personally, I'm gonna go put a reamer through it real quick because I have the size, but if not, you're still fine. You keep pushing this, cleaning your garbage off. They're fine. So if I say they're fine, I guess I'm not gonna go ream them, they're fine. Then we put our thick washers on. I'm gonna flip these over just because that side's shiny. And I'm gonna get his screws that are full of hair. We've got a washer, we've got a screw. You use your 1/4-inch Allen wrench that was supplied with your machine. So while I'm thinking about it, I'm just gonna put his knob back on here. About 1 inch of play. Let's see what we're showing. I personally put the anti-seize on the bolt first, then the washer. Saves it from going up my hands a little too much. And literally, if you're only doing your wheels, it takes, I'm gonna say 3 minutes to clean these off. They should never look like that with those hair washers. Wow, the wheels spin. All right. So, go back here. Let's see if I can move that away. All right. So I'm going to line his handle up. Basically, I'm putting this piece of stainless steel here, which I didn't clean that, but I'll squirt it on after, between the nut and the knob. See right there? Then we have our 5/16, 18 1-inch. We put a lock washer and the flat washer. This is an SAE washer. It's a special washer, just smaller diameter. So if you need any, call the office. Tammy will send you some. And once I find my anti-seize, I will be putting the little on this bolt. Oh, here it is, right in front of me. Line this up, set it for commercial glue down. And we'll be on to the next chore. Real simple. Just put that in. tight. Grab my business card. In this case, I'm a little high, and I showed the adjustment in another video on the carpet. But this is how they're sent, so this is how I'm doing it. Absolutely perfect. I'm going to put a solution line on. I'm going to hold the line with the 3/8. I'm going to use the 9/16 to get it tight because I want to be able to make sure my solution line here stays nice and straight. It's not all twisted. It's hot in here. I need an air mover. I'm going to go put it on. Paint's drying nicely. I've got a mess, and that'll get all cleaned up. And this is what I'm gonna have to pull that sticker. That's gonna take a few minutes too. And I've got to address this valve. I'll be back for another video. Vacuum hose. This is just 2-inch vacuum hose. You can use your color, anything you want. This section here is 9 inches, and the longer section is 30 inches. And cut them to your desired length, and you don't have to really call in, and you're not out of business. We're gonna put the sight tube in, and the rest of the pieces that he was missing, the cuff, the elbow. So what I do is I have a bucket of water down here, and it's I've been running it on the bucket heater, and it's really hot. So I'm just gonna soak these in there and get them nice and warm. That helps to put the clear sight tube in nice and easy. Now I have a spacer, and the spacer is about 3 inches. You want to see about 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches inside of each side of the hose evenly in this area. I use this as a spacer. It's about 3 inches. I put my cuff on, and I might have to move the camera, bring the machine down to show you the rest here. I also dunk this in the water. Now this has a short side and a long side. The long side goes down in this cuff till it reaches the bottom. You'll feel it hit. As soon as it hits, you're good. Here's another issue I'd like to address. A lot of guys, there's a clamp that holds the cuff here, and a lot of guys are putting the clamp around the hose, and the hose is ripping because it's moving. The proper way to do this, do you see this little ridge right here? This ridge goes inside. Let me bring this in a little bit closer here. That ridge will go inside of the clamp. So when I'm clamping this, okay, and you put it to either side, whatever side you want. When I'm clamping this, that ridge sits down inside of this area here, okay? And then we put our clamp on. Now I can't pull it. Even though I didn't even tighten it, I can't pull it because I have that lip inside of this clamp. Might be a helpful tip. Keep you from ripping your hose, and we're gonna finish putting this together and go from there. Next, I'm going to address why the unit is in for service. His jets were plugging up constantly. If you see, he doesn't have an inline filter. The inline filter is on there for a reason, so that it filters out all of the debris. It doesn't get into your jets. So I'm going to strip his down, give him back his old parts, because I don't know what kind of quick disconnect he has on there. We use all Parker, and I'll explain why we use the lead solution line and why we use that type of hose itself. So let me get his strip down. This is 45. This is actually a part that comes with the unit. I'm just going to take that off. He has a nipple on here. We'll return this to him. His valve stuck. As I was removing a few fittings so that I could reinstall an inline filter, I discovered that the valve was stuck. So I'm going to go through this and show you how to remove the valve and what you'll need to do to rebuild it. I'll probably make a separate video on rebuilding it, but I'm at least going to show you how to remove it. You will need a few tools. You'll need an Allen wrench. You'll actually need a 5/32. You're going to need a 7/16, either a wrench or a socket, a 9mm, and a 3/8 wrench. I would suggest, and I've told people this in other videos, get a T-handle Allen wrench set. Something like this. This is $30 on Amazon, or you can buy a $7 set at Harbor Freight. So the first thing you want to do, get my glasses off so I can see a little better. I can only read with those. You want to hold your solution line with your 3/8. Use your 9/16 to take off your bottom fitting. And the reason you want to take this bottom solution line off before you do the top is because when you replace it, you don't want this to twist all around. You could twist it into here. All you do is take your 5/32 wrench, you hold it. I put a little Loctite on these, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to re-Loctite them. Yes, there is some residual inside the bolt, so it will still probably hold tight. Simple as taking those two out. Might have to wiggle it, jiggle it, tap it. Grab my nut here. But you want to get both of these screws out here. You basically pop this up. Take your palms. The whole assembly will come up. Now I use a rubber mallet when I'm putting it back together, just to tap it down to the right point, or you could use your fist, and I will show you that. So you take your 9/16, take the top of the solution line off, and now you've got your whole valve assembly. We're going to go over to the table and rebuild it. Okay, this valve was stuck. I've got calls a few times for it. A lot of times it's from too much heat. Maybe their heater got stuck on, or they cranked it up to 2000 PSI. This valve here is made by Mossmatic. It's rated at 1500 PSI. So it was stuck. I'm going to crack it open. We've got a 15/16 inch wrench, or you can use an adjustable wrench. Helps to have a vise. If you don't have one, have your buddy hold it. But these are on a little bit tight. We're going to remove the cap. And then there's a 2-piece stem in here that we need to pull out. First the cap, then we've got a spring. And then this is the stem. And sometimes, you know, they're clogged with powder. Say if people are using a powdered rinse, it's not dissolving correctly. It'll basically get stuck up in the cap, because this is like a cylinder on a car. It needs to be nice and smooth and clean. So I'm gonna pull the stem out, and right away right here I can see that this one failed. This is probably too much heat. A lot of times people run burners and their heaters will get stuck, and this will kind of warp up out of here. So I could basically fix this by putting in a new Teflon ring, but I'm going to rebuild the whole valve so I can show you what goes on. Let me put this a little closer so you can see. Okay, so with the new rebuild kit, this comes with a spring, comes with an O-ring for the cap. We have 2 black O-rings, that's for the stem, and 2 Teflon rings, that's also for the stem. And this is the part that failed. This is a Teflon ring, and that goes in the middle. So this is a 2-piece stem here, and we're going to need a couple of wrenches to take this apart. This is a 1/4 inch and a 3/8. 3/8 will go on this part, or adjustable wrenches, whatever you guys got. Okay, this is righty tighty, lefty loosey. You take this stem apart. It's 2 pieces. I know I keep repeating myself, and I'm going to. This is the Teflon ring that failed. We're going to throw that to the side. If I had to, I could just put this Teflon ring in, bam, it's fixed. So what I'm going to do is show a complete rebuild. You want to take a dental pick, and you actually want to take out your O-rings first. A little easier. You can just grab them, the rubber, or just rip it all off of here. It really doesn't matter. I mean, they're old. If you're replacing them, who cares? So we get that off. I'm going to get through the O-ring here and take it off. Sometimes you gotta, you know, work it a little bit or what have you. I ripped that one. Doesn't really matter. So on the bottom of the stem, same thing. Get those off. And just remember, the white Teflon is at the top. If this was together, there's a top and there's a bottom. The bottom is where the spring goes in with the hole. I did poke myself, so you guys will have to deal with a little blood here. So I'm going to put this together here basically and go from there. Let me wipe this down and see what we got. I use a little bit of O-ring lube. This is Parker O-ring lube. You can use Vaseline, whatever you've got handy, but you need something to lubricate the O-rings. So I'm going to take my black O-rings here first. This is the top part of the stem, and it gets a little tricky. Just gotta be patient. I'm shooting a video, so I'm kind of a little nervous, but just takes a little patience. Boy, I'd feel sorry for the guys that got to build a bunch of these, but they probably got some neat tricks. So I'm going to use my little poker here. Wish I'd used a screwdriver. I probably wouldn't have poked myself. And just kind of walk it onto there best you can. Okay. Then we're going to take the bottom. We're going to walk this one right onto here. Teflon ring. This is split. If you can see, it's got a split, so that's normal for it to be like that. That way you've got some room to work it. And just slide it on. Take your top. Slide that on. You want to put your O-ring, make sure it seats. There's a flange here. Make sure it seats down into there well. And then you can put the two together. Make sure everything's lined up. Take your wrenches and get it nice and tight. And then what I'll do is put a little more O-ring lube on these. Keep it from ripping or anything when you're putting it back in. You also want to make sure that your cylinder inside your valve is clean. So look in there, use some CLR or some uric acid. Make sure your cylinder's clean. This one looks good. You also want to make sure your cap is really clean. I don't know if you can see in there. Just a little bit of debris. Nothing crazy. Okay. And then you also want to replace your cap O-ring, which is also supplied. I've got enough lube on my fingers, I'm not even gonna worry about getting any more on there, so we've got enough. We want to take our new spring, we're going to put it in our stem. And this is all lubed, and we're just sliding this. Let me get back. Oh, I thought I zoomed it in. Maybe not. That might be good enough. Okay. So we just want to slide that in there. Reinstall our cap. Tighten it up. Take it out of our vise and perfect. Now what you want to look at, we had switched manufacturers a couple years back. We used to buy a valve from Precision Fluid Controls, and I'm going to zoom this in for this. Let's see what we got here. Okay, that's not that one. Let's zoom into there. This was a valve made by Precision Fluid Controls, and the only way that you can tell what valve you have is either give us your serial number when you're ordering it, and if you're not sure, please don't order it, call and we'll make sure we get you the right one based off of the serial number. As you see, this just has a PSI rating and a direction for the valve. Okay, and these were probably, they were made by Precision Fluid Controls. Butler started making these because there were so many out there. So you can actually get the rebuild kits from us, or you can get them from Butler. Now, for the last few years, Mossmatic has been making our valves. And you see the difference. It's black writing. You can see the Mossmatic symbol up top. It actually is their symbol. It's just covered by the valve mount block a little bit. They take two different rebuild kits. And so make sure you clarify that. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and reinstall the valve. As you see, you have to line up your holes with your handlebar. I can zoom you in here a little bit closer. Okay, see how the holes are lined up? If you were to turn your handlebar, there's no holes. So if you ever have to replace this valve, what you'll need to do is take off one of your handle grips, pull the handlebar out, and then you can access the 4 screws that hold the valve on. I'm gonna get this a little further so we can see. So I'm basically gonna take my 9mm wrench, and I'm gonna install this top first, then I'm gonna hook it up to the head on the bottom. Now, if you ever had to replace the solution line, you're gonna wanna disconnect your valve. You're gonna wanna pull this solution line out, which these are very high quality. These are stainless steel Parker solution lines, so it's very rare that we have them blow. So your new one, you would insert in from the bottom to the top. So I will just speed this a little bit, give me a little room. Reinstall my valve. Pull on my solution line a little bit, just so it drops, so it's taut. Knock it in until I can see my holes. I can see my holes real good there. Now you can either wiggle them into there and screw it, takes a little longer. I basically just use a drill bit, and I was trying to make it line it up. So get my wrenches here. Back in. Okay. And they are Loctited when they're bought, so I'm going to use a little bit more here. This is just blue Loctite. I put just a tad on the threads. Very little drop. Let's get your Allen wrench. Socket wrench, and these go so that the nuts are in the back. These are acorn nuts, and I think it was a 5/32 Allen wrench. I think I told the size in an earlier video. Snug. I'll kill myself just so you won't even have to hold them. They'll just kind of, you'll feel when they get tight. And this one I might have to hold a little bit. Next I'll put the solution line on and we're just about done. Alright, so I'm trying to wrap my day up here a little bit. I'll bore you with a little Teflon tape. I probably should have did it first, but I'll do it now. You always want to go clockwise with your Teflon tape. And again, as I stated in an earlier video, I use this 1/4 inch, works really nice. Don't get it past the tip. You want to just keep it on your threads back a little ways. And we're going to reassemble this whole thing. Now we use an inline filter. Let me get back here so I can see what we can see. This is actually a 13/16, this large size. The small size is an 11/16. A lot of people don't realize you have an inline filter and they never clean them out. So what you'll do is you'll keep turning up the pressure until you blow a hole in it. This is a 100 mesh screen here. Okay, it sits down in the body. Then your cap goes on. Real easy to clean out. A couple adjustable wrenches if you don't have those sizes. So I'm going to give this a Teflon tape. And I do it differently when we're assembling them, but I can do it here for now. That will go on there. So you have your lead solution line. And the reason we use these, as I discussed before, these will give you a warning. It will actually blow a bubble in it, then it will squirt a little pinhole of hot water. Most steel braided lines, this is a Parker Parflex. Most steel braided lines, they'll blow and it can actually burn the operator because the crimp comes off, and not a good thing. So you basically have your solution line, put your filter on, quick disconnect. And again, these are all Parker. I'm not even wasting my time seeing what he has because that could run into problems. Some guys, they pull the trigger, hey, it's not working, it's not working. All these quick disconnects don't mesh the same. If you have a Hanson's, it may not mesh with a Parker, but Parker is the best. So I'm basically gonna hold this with my 13, you know, I'm gonna do it the way I do. I vise this in, but I'll put the box end on there. That's my 13/16. I'm gonna take my filter and I'm actually going to tighten up my quick disconnect here. Okay, and then you gotta make sure that your filter, this is all you should be taking apart. When you're cleaning out your filter, you take this off, filter falls out, you rinse it, you clean it, you put it back in, you put it back together. Okay, and you want to get that decently tight because otherwise it's going to leak out of it. You just give it a nice snug. I'm going to finish up on the machine over here. I really want to get this done out of the way. Let me see what we're looking at. Yep, I guess we can see okay. Back in zoom. Back out. That's a little better. Okay. So this is our 45. This also takes an 11/16 wrench. When I get it started, I don't know if it boogered up here because I didn't. This machine was in pretty bad shape, and we will see. Not sure we didn't booger anything. Get that started. Take your 11/16. And you want to get it tight. You want to place it where you want it. I'll show you where I place it and why I place it there. But I get it decently tighter, it will come loose on me. The good thing is with this valve, we have this bushing, so you can't over tighten the 45 into the valve. So I keep it on an upward angle. The reason being is when I'm operating the unit, the solution line will naturally just kind of lay down to the side. And this is going to take a 9/16 also here. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I got a phone call and it killed my video. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the solution line on. And that takes a 9/16 and a 3/8, previously stated in a video. And the reason I'm using the 3/8 is because I want to keep my solution line, see, so it doesn't tangle all up and look all goofy, twisted all around. So I'm holding it with the 3/8 so it's straight, and then I'm tightening it with my 9/16. And then I'm going to put my vacuum hose on. Now these are new clamps, I've got to loosen them a little bit. So this is an 8mm. Just going to loosen them a little bit. And what I do is I put these to the bottom. You see how the screw is here? I slide them on so that when I adjust it and I tighten everything up, they're towards the bottom, they're away from anything they can hit. Push my vacuum hose on. I'm going to slide these up, and I slide them right to the edge, pretty much. And I tighten them up. Make sure they're in a good spot. Like I say, you want to keep these, the sharp part of the clamp, to the underneath back side of the unit. Somewhere in about that position. When I tighten them, they'll be a little bit further back. But let me go ahead and tighten these, and I'll show you where I keep them. This way they're tucked, they're kind of out of the way. Go a little bit more on this one. I know these videos are long, they're boring. Somehow I gotta get the point across. So here, as you can see, I keep them up and tucked away. So if you're up against a wall, you're not dragging these up against there. Here would be the wall. So you're not gonna hit that. So I'm gonna set this back down, and we're gonna reinstall his weights. Again, you don't need both weights all the time. We repainted them. They look nice and almost new. Normally I clean with one weight, but there are times that the carpet's breathing a lot of Berber, a looped carpet, and I'll need to use 2 weights. Little anti-seize only because these are new screws I'm putting in here. I painted the old ones. These aren't as important because this is a stainless steel insert. It's called a helicoil. And if you ever get anti-seize on your unit and you want to wipe it off, Goof Off does a wonderful job. Okay, so I put a little oil on the wrench here. He had lost his wrench. And again, I'll show, I just twist it back and forth. Clockwise, counterclockwise, hold your finger on the opposite side, push it in. We're gonna put a sticker on this and call it a wrap. Make sure you clean everything real good. Don't worry about that top later. Again, you want to keep your paper up and just unpeel it. You can see what's going on with the sticker. If it starts to not peel, push it with your finger again right there. See if it gets stuck, push your fingers together and then keep peeling it. Sticker off nice and slow. That's a wrap.